Hey, what's up, guys? Kaufman is a live YouTube channel. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at an old comic book, The Savage Dragon, number 3. This came out in December of 1992. This is the final issue of the original Savage Dragon miniseries, third rockin' issue. I've already done reviews of issue 1 and number 2, so go check those out on my channel if you haven't yet. In this issue, we get a crossover with Rob Liefeld's character Bedrock, going toe-to-toe with Erik Larsen's created own character Savage Dragon. So like when you were a kid and you were creating your own comic books and characters like I was, if you were doing that, crossing your characters over with like one of your friends' characters was always one of those really cool things to do. And these guys get to do it on, the big professional stage here. And it's a pretty cool concept. I think, by the early 90s, people were kind of really wanting to see new characters created. And we get a whole new expanded universe with Image Comics. We see Spawn actually make an appearance in this issue. Larsen thanks Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane for the use of the Youngblood and Spawn characters in this book. So in this book, we really get the feeling that Image Comics is an expanded universe with all these characters cohabitating it together. So this cover, it's a good drawing, but I really dislike the coloring on this. I think they were still using Malibu Comics to do the colors, and they were experimenting with some new styles back during this time period, so you get some really weird shading, like the really white shading here on the fin and on Bedrock. I don't think works too well. Just kind of an ugly looking cover. There's just like pink sky in the background, and they're using like this rock shading for Bedrock too, and some of the rubble, like computer looking shading. So looks pretty weird. Distracts from Larsen's nice pencil work here. So the issue's called Rock This Town. We get the great opening splash page into the double splash page that Larsen always loves to do. Broken glass everywhere. This character, Inferno, is attacking Dragon in the hospital here. Dragon's hopping out of the way of his Inferno blasts. Alex and Frank, who are Dragon's partners on the police force in Chicago, they're right there, but Dragon disposes of him quickly, smashing his head right into the brick wall there. I like how his power's now off and he's just got no firepower that he's smashed in the wall. That's pretty cool. I like this little hand just poking out behind the door with the gun pointed. So they explained to Dragon that he's been out for 9 days and he's quickly healed. And they start telling him about some of the other heroes that were helping him and what happened to them, like Super Patriot. He just crawled off. And Dragon is told the vicious circle's everywhere, like he just got attacked. So his duty now is just going to be to track down the vicious circle. And Alex tells Dragon, "You scared the hell out of me, you big jerk." And Dragon says, "Oh, Miss Wild, I never knew you cared." We get Overlord here. His team just got taken out in the last issue. Mako, Hellraiser, they got taken out by the Dragon and arrested. They're in the hospital. Basher got killed, which is one thing I always like about these Dragon comics, is that there's characters who just get killed off, and Larsen really has no problem doing that. And it's a more realistic storytelling style when you've got characters who can die really at any moment, because this is a very violent, realistic world that we're in here. However, Dragon the main character, he can't get killed basically. He's pretty much like Deadpool or Wolverine and just has this immortal healing factor. So, and all throughout the book, there's all the really hot babes hitting on Dragon, even the nurse. And Larsen, this is kind of how he drew Mary Jane in the Spider-Man comics too. This looks almost exactly like MJ. He loves drawing big, voluptuous women with big, pouty lips, big hair. So Dragon's told that he's a big media star now, and he goes to talk to the press, and they're asking him questions about his real identity, where he came from, and he's just saying he doesn't know, and he gets real frustrated, and he just leaves them all behind except for one reporter who tries to get one more word with him. But right at that moment, he gets attacked by Bedrock, and we get another great double splash page, which is just something I feel like we don't get a lot in a lot of modern comics anymore. We've already had one double splash page in this book, and here we just get another to kick off this battle. And it's a pretty awesome one, I feel like, too. We got the reporter down here. Really awesome looking hands, and the blood's coming out of his mouth. His glasses are flying off. And we get the appearance of Bedrock from Youngblood. And at this point, he's still called Bedrock. This is probably one of the last comics where he was still known by his original moniker. Liefeld got a cease and desist from, I think, Hanna-Barbera and the Flintstones, and saying that they couldn't use the name Bedrock, so they changed it up to Badrock, which you might know him better as. So, but I've always liked this character. He's one of Liefeld's better characters, I feel like, that he brought into the Image Comics universe. He has some good ones in Marvel, too, don't get me wrong. But this was one of the better ones that didn't feel, too derivative of some other characters, although you could say he's kind of a combination of maybe like the Thing and the Hulk. He kind of looks like the Thing in the face, just without all the rock formation. But we get the battle here. They go smashing into a room and down an elevator shaft. Dragon says, "I never cared much for you Shaw spandex pretty boys in the first place." We got the Image Comics 0 ad here with the coupon, and my coupon got clipped out. I picked up this comic in a dollar bin a few years back. I had bought this comic when I was a kid and had it for years, and eventually lost place of it, so I had to go rebuy it. And this copy doesn't have the coupon in it anymore, but it does have the awesome pinup poster in the middle by Larsen. Pretty cool drawing of Dragon here. I would always recommend getting a second issue of these Dragon comics if you can find them in the dollar bin, so that you could tear out the posters and pin them up to your wall, because these are pretty cool posters. So they continue fighting. We get the appearance of Spawn here at the bottom of the page, and he just kind of makes a little cameo for no real reason other than to show that this is kind of a shared universe between Liefeld, McFarlane, and Larsen, and also Jim Valentino's Shadowhawk too. I'm probably missing a few other, I guess, Wetworks and Wildcats. Yeah, they're all in the same universe technically. So, but it's kind of funny. These two kids see a superhero. And he's like, "Rob, look, it's that new superhero." Probably a reference to Rob Liefeld. It almost kind of looks like his face there, too, that Larsen drew. Cartooning his face. But then they're not actually looking for Spawn. Spawn was kind of freaked out. Like, how do they know I'm here? But they're looking at Dragon on all the TVs here. And I almost think that these Spawn drawings are drawn by Todd McFarlane, because they look penciled in a different kind of style than Larsen, just the Spawn, but I could be wrong. It might just be Larsen trying to draw a little bit more like McFarlane for his character in this part. I'm not quite sure. They're in the elevator shaft. I like the coloring here where it's just all red, and this is a really cool drawing of these two battling. Really like that drawing of Bedrock and Dragon. Even with the red coloring actually makes it even better, I think. Some great faces there. Bedrock smashes Dragon back. But Dragon uses agility to jump over Bedrock. He says he's putting an end to this fight now. And he smashes Bedrock all the way over the panels, into the water. And I like how this face on Dragon, you can see what he's thinking in this picture. It's such a well done face. He's like feeling sorry for Bedrock, but he's also feeling like, man, do I really have to go save this guy? So he jumps in the water. And Larsen actually talks about in the letters page in this book about how he made a conscious choice not to use thought bubbles in these comics. So, and I think it really works with his style because you really get all the emotion and expression in his drawings. You don't really need thought bubbles telling you what they're thinking because you can pretty much guess or come to the conclusion on your own through the artwork. So Chris Iliopoulos does the letters here too. Really awesome sound effects in this book as usual. I love Larsen when he draws underwater stuff too. It looks really great with all the bubbles everywhere. He really does an awesome job drawing underwater scenes, which he does tend to do a lot, I feel like. He's really good at drawing water, which can be pretty hard to do. This one looks kind of weird though. He's trying to show him jumping out of the water, and like the water dripping off him, but it's just a heroic looking shot there. They keep fighting, punching each other. Just, that's one of my favorite things about Savage Dragon comics, really, is just there's a tremendous amount of punching and kicking and fighting. And although he'll have whole issues where he doesn't do any of it, and it's just all story and character development too, but for the most part, you're going to get your action in a Dragon comic, especially these early ones. So then we get the start of this little subplot where there's this old lady who looks just like Aunt May. It's not, but she looks like her. And she sees Dragon on the TV. She drops her dish. She's like, "It's my Rodney, you're alive." And we see Rodney's picture here on the table. And he's got the green fin, so that's why she thinks that it's Savage Dragon. But this storyline does not actually, Dragon is not her son. This gets revealed that she's just an old crazy lady. So we get some fighting here again. And Bedrock says, "I just wanted to see if you were tough enough to join Youngblood." And Dragon just smashes him. We get another double splash page with the giant wham. Really great double splash there. And he goes, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard." And Bedrock says it happens in Marvel Comics all the time. And then Bedrock's like, "Can I go now?" Really great face on Bedrock there. Just like, and he's a kid too, if you don't know. So he's kind of child in his demeanor. And Dragon's like, "Hell no, you're under arrest." So that's the end of that story. I think it was a pretty good fight. And Larsen's character gets the best of Liefeld's character. And it's Larsen's book, so he can do that. So Dragon goes home, and his neighbor, Debbie, is waiting outside his door. And her mom kicked her out. Dragon says it's not right. And he invites her in since she's got no place to stay. And that picks up in the first issue of the Savage Dragon ongoing series, which basically this entire miniseries was just to set up the ongoing series. So we get Larsen's interpretation of Youngblood here. And then Frank, Dragon's partner, he gets a call. And in the previous issues, his cousin Fred got murdered by the Vicious Circle. And we find out that the tip about Fred's warehouse actually came from Frank himself, so that Dragon would go to the warehouse and bust them up himself, and in turn decide to join the police force. So Frank actually got his cousin murdered unwittingly, and that's why he's living with all this guilt. But at least he did get the Dragon on the force, right? I guess. And we get Skullface here, who's a great character. He's kind of like second in command to Overlord here. And I love the way he draws metal. And we get that with Cyberface. And I love the way he draws skulls. So, just a really cool looking character. He's got a really cool name too, Skullface. Just seems generic, but when you realize, like, it's kind of a cool name. So, I love Larsen's design of characters. He's just one of the best, I feel like. So, and they say they've got Frank Darling where they want him now. So that's the end of this whole miniseries, and we get some letters pages as well. One of them is, "Are you related to Gary Larsen, the guy who does Far Side?" He says, "No, I'm not related." And he says he's not related to the Disney animator who shares his name. And he just talks about how some people are, upset about the printing schedule because some of the books have been late. And he's just talking about how starting up a new original series is an entirely different process. And he says, honestly, they just weren't prepared for it. So they were coming off doing regularly monthly mags. And it says they wanted to launch right into their new books, yet they didn't account for setting up the start time for the new venture and to come up with all the concepts that went into the new books. So I think you really get that with like Youngblood, which was the first Image comic, and it got really rushed out. And they didn't have a lot of concepts down, and the stories really go nowhere. And same with some of the early Spawn comics. You see that Todd McFarlane really didn't have any ideas other than the character name and the design. And he had to come up with everything else on the fly. And Larsen kind of did too, to an extent, although a lot of these characters like Dragon and a lot of the characters he's using, he used in comics that he drew as a child and before he was a professional. But a lot of those comics got burned in a house fire that burned down all of his whole house and all of his belongings, all of his old comic books. So he's drawing a lot of this stuff from memory. And so in a sense, he's kind of creating this whole new universe on the fly too. So, but as we know, it all kind of worked out in the end for Image. But Savage Dragon's still going today. Still one of the longest creator-owned comic books where Larsen's drawn every single issue. So I got to recommend this whole miniseries, including this third issue. So thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. I do post daily, and I'll see you guys on the next one.